All right, everybody, want to take a second to talk to you about an amazing sponsor. We have an amazing relationship with rayallen.com. Ray Allen is a one-stop shop for everything dog, not just working dogs. Everything dog that you need, you can go down there, check them out, rayallen.com. Awesome people. They got everything you need.
Another one of our favorite partnerships is with a dog trainer. They've been with us from the start. Great collars, great ball poppers, great GPS tracking, big dog, small dog, bark collars, everything. I got everything like that they have at the kennel. We use it every day. Be sure to head them up, dogtrainer.com. Listen for the discount code later in the episode.
Hey guys, it's going to happen. August 16th through the 19th. HITS is coming back. The HITS Canine Conference in Orlando, Florida, August 16th through the 19th. Get on there. It's the biggest, the best. Check it out. Hitscanine.net. Hitscanine.net. Get registered now.
Take the guesswork out of making sure you're feeding your working dog correctly by using Kinetic Dog Food. Hit them up at kineticdogfood.com and look them up on the Instagrams at Kinetic Dog Food. Take all the guesswork out and do it right from the beginning.
We love Horizon Structures. Dude, this stuff is so awesome, man. You can get online. You can talk to them. You could build it you want from mild to wild. They'll come bring it to your place, set it down on your pad, hook up your power, hook up your water, and you can put dogs in it that day. If you don't believe me, check out some guys like Justin Rigney's got a great setup there. Ask him. Check him out, horizonstructures.com.
All right, Working Dog Radio, broadcasting the bite. I am Ted Summers from Tulsa, Oklahoma. With me, as always, is Eric Stambro. Eric, what's up?
Nothing. Just got back from Blue Line in Pittsburgh and woke up the next day sick as shit. So some of you nasty booger finger people that were shaking my hands at Blue Line, one of you guys got me sick. I have my suspects too. I haven't told them yet. I think who it was, but
you share a beer?
No, just made out, But anyways, so yeah, just doing that, and I started handler school. This is Tuesday. Started handler school yesterday. Just one single purpose dog. Quick little class. This guy's handled two dogs in the past, so just banging it out real quick. Really, that's about it. Just normal stuff, man. I got these Springer Spaniels in the kennel, and so I have one's going out to Rich out in California. The other one, I'm not sure yet. And the third one, I have a feeling he might be too much on birds for me to do anything. I'm going to have to find somebody that's a Springer Spaniel bird hunting person.
That sucks when you get one like that.
Yeah, he would be indoors. The dog will hunt for a toy like nothing, man. He's so good. But you get him outside, and he's the one that can stand up on his back legs for we're at 24 seconds right now for his.
I keep seeing those pictures.
That's his best time. He did it today, 24, and then turned and moved. I was like, this is spooky.
Of course he did.
If I could teach him to walk like a bunch of walking forward, I would. If I took the time to do that, I'd probably sell him to a circus or something. But I can't, so I don't have time. But anyways, what do we got going on today?
I have handler school starting with 3 handlers, 2 singles, and it's double under dual purpose, and then I've got some more dual purpose dogs coming in. So we'll start on those as soon as I get here, which should be probably the end of the month. Middle of the month. I'm decoying a PSA trial. By the time this airs, it'll be past, but I'm decoying a PSA trial out in the Bay Area at the end of this month. So that'll be interesting. Another flight. Speaking of another flight, our guest tonight. So this is the second time we've done this interview because I don't know, Elon hasn't bought Google yet, so it fucked up. So again, on this time is Ben Lipinski from Tarheel PSA. I'll let him do his intro. But tonight with us we have Ben Lipinski. Ben, what's going on, man?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Doing great. It's glad to have you on again.
Yeah.
So
I guess it was just so good. You guys wanted to talk to me again.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The video quality is better this time though. So if you're watching on YouTube, Ben's sitting in a hotel in
Springfield, Missouri.
Springfield, Missouri. You're out there doing a decoy camp, right? Decoy
school. Police decoy school out here in Springfield. We just finished up day 1 and ate a whole pizza and now I'm back living the hotel life. Got my pizza and beer. I got a
Yes.
couple of these coming up. I got another one in Washington State, and just wrapped up several sport decoy camps over the last couple of weeks. It's been a lot of planes, a lot of hotels.
Yeah, you were in England, eh?
Yeah, I spent like 10 days in England and 3 days in Northern Ireland, doing PSA stuff over there. They started like the UK started like 6 new clubs during like COVID, and no one had been over there to like, introduce them to the sport. So I did a welcome seminar. We had like 40 plus people there. It was great. Trained with a bunch of the clubs during the week, flew over to Northern Ireland, trained with the club over there, went back to the UK, did a decoy seminar there, flew back to the States, went to work, did a decoy camp there, flew to Missouri, living that travel life right now.
Yeah, now that COVID's open back up, and you don't have to wear a thing on your face no more.
Yeah, like
It was
fuck,
the
thank God.
weirdest. Seriously, like I flew to Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh for Blue Line, and on the way up there, I was texting somebody. I was like, "It's so weird to be walking through the airport and nobody has anything on their face. It's the weirdest fucking feeling in the world." And it's interesting because, like, everyone's like, "Oh, I don't pay attention to the news. I don't watch this. I don't do that. I don't do anything else." But I guarantee you, they didn't have any signs up that says you didn't have to wear it. But there was like 2 people that had masks on, and it was like somebody told y'all. Because so it was an interesting and I'm gonna say this, and I don't know how this will be received, but everyone just seemed like happier.
No, so
Like,
I was on the plane from Manchester back to Atlanta, and we were 1 hour into that 9.5 hour flight, and they came over the pilot like came over the speaker and was like, "Hey, so we just got official word. You no longer have to wear masks on the plane." And it was like, you would have think he just saved us from a crash landing. Like
Wow.
masks, literally, I'm not joking, like went flying in the air. Like people were done with it, man.
Yeah. Last time I
Yeah.
flew, when we got back, I told my wife I'm not flying anymore until they get rid of the masks. And this was when we knew it was supposed to be like March 1st and then April 1st, and then Biden kept pushing it back. 15 days, 10 days, 15 days, fuck you. I was like, I'm done with it. I couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah, maybe it's because I hadn't seen so many people's faces like on planes in so long, but like people were being courteous and nobody was bitching about stuff. There was a baby crying and nobody cared. And I mean, it was crazy. I was like, man, what planet is this? So, because we worked all through COVID and flew, and I was like, well, it is what it is. Like at the height of COVID, when there was like no planes and I was still flying, and it was like people were freaked out and shit. So I don't know. Anyway,
The downside for a lot of people, though, Ted, is that you sit in the airport with the mask on and you see a lot of really pretty women. Their eyes are gorgeous, and now they take off the mask and they look like a sledgehammer.
she looks like fucking Charlie Murphy.
Yeah, right. Put your shoes on my couch.
It's a nice couch. Be
Mm.
ashamed if somebody fucked it up. So Ben, give us a little bit of your background, man.
Yeah, so started out as a young kid, teenager, training hunting dogs. Got into hunt tests at like 15 years old with labs. Dabbled in some field trial work, trained a lot of gun dogs, working for a trainer. Was a hunting guide. Like definitely thought I was going to make that my career path with dogs. And then I like got curious about police dogs. To make a longer story short, I got on the internet, found out about Tarheel Canine, went there for a 3-month program, and that was in January of 2015. And now I've been there for 7.5 years, working as a trainer. So that's what I do now is I train police, military working dogs at Tarheel Canine in North Carolina. Trained a bunch of dogs. We're a school for dog trainers, taught a bunch of people. And lately I've been kind of our seminar and on the road representative for Tarheel, right? Because Jerry's a little sick of traveling. He's, been everywhere.
Been doing it, yeah. So let's back up to the hunting. Do you want a Springer Spaniel? I can get you a real nice one.
I have a Cocker Spaniel of my own right now. He's my little buddy and hunting companion. So I'm all good on the spaniel front.
The kid Jordan that works for me, he kept the springers for me while I was out of town in Georgia, and he has birds, a lot of birds, and he has a parakeet cage, and he brought Rafa in the house just to see, and he damn near destroyed the parakeet cage getting to him. He goes, dude, I was gonna kill your dog. He was smashing his face. I'm like, yeah, I told you. I mean,
Are you finding that like departments will buy the spaniels for detection dogs?
well, no, not yet. Everybody's hooked on GSPs right now
Yeah,
for the floppy
GSPs
ears.
and labs.
Yeah, labs. A lot of people want labs, as we've talked about. You can get good labs, but
Mhm.
they're harder to find for reasonable money for a middle vendor like you and me and Ted. The Springers are there. I'm telling you, these are amazing dogs. What I thought when I got them, I was just going to quick flip them, but they're not tall enough for like the big companies that do some of the federal contracts.
Yeah.
They're not tall. They're English Springer Spaniels, so they're not. I think it's got to be 24 inches to the shoulder, and these three are little. Granted, two of them can jump about straight up 7 feet high.
Yeah.
They're just too little for them. So, the one's going out to California, I think, to get trained up to work in probation, and I don't know about the other two yet. So,
Yeah, that's always been like my thought. I'm a fan of the breed, and like obviously the good ones, can be very good at detection, but it's just like perception. I feel like, everybody comes in and they already have an idea of what they want, and they're not as willing to like even consider the dog when you bring it out and it looks like a spaniel, right? Like,
yeah.
it's like bringing out a long-haired shepherd. They're like, oh,
Yeah.
next.
Meanwhile, these three have some of the best environmentals that I've seen in a long time. They climb stuff, jump stuff, go in and out of dark things. They're not afraid of anything. The only thing I don't like about them is their little fur will pick up every piece of dirt on the ground and put it right in their crate or in
Yeah,
the
for
kennel.
sure.
I'm scrubbing out these crates every other day, just covered in dirt. So,
That sounds terrible.
they're like little brooms, man.
We
like
got
little
those
sticky brooms.
We got those 3 GSPs that we had that litter of, and I've got 3 of them that we raised from puppies, and we raised them like Malinois, basically. Like they'll do some bite work, and like they'll bite sleeves, and so they got old enough to where we're starting them on our box protocol stuff, and they're fucking killing it. It's amazing when you raise them, and we started them on clickers and everything else. But we were having like, odor recognition in like an afternoon with them. I mean, with almost no work. I mean, they're fucking badass. So I've got 2 females and a male. Nano, Arrow, and Poppy are their names, and I think one of them is sold. By the time this airs, I'm sure they'll be gone.
Is that from Aldi?
Yes.
Or is it? Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
And they're 14 or 16 months old now, so they're
that went by quick.
Right, COVID. So they're like little rock stars. They're gonna be. I've got them all working on narcotics. So yeah, they'll be ready to rock here pretty soon. In fact, I think I sold one to a small department here, about 35 minutes from here. But yeah, so we sort of hijacked that. So Ben, you did the hunter stuff. Started out in hunting dogs. So when you go to Tarheel, and at the time you go through the 3-month program, what prompted you to stay in there and not continue on in the hunting path?
Don't say debt either.
I think honestly, it was just a realization. Like I knew at like 16, right, for sure, that I was going to be a dog trainer in some form for the rest of my life, right? That like this is what I'm passionate about. I wanted to devote my time and my energy into. And I think when I spent 3 months at Tar Heel and saw how much like work Malinois and Shepherds and Dutchies and, like police dogs are, or even like, sport dogs in terms of like PSA, like I think I kind of realized that if I'm going to do this, I need to do this now, right? Because I can always go back to standing on a mound, holding an e-collar and letting a lab run all over, right? And you'll run a lab 4 miles and you don't move a foot, right? But like getting in a suit, even running like detection, running tracks, I was like, all right, we need to like do this now, because you have a higher chance at being successful in this, like kind of at a young age, and like being, in the suit every day and being physical, kind of being like a workhorse, and getting fucked up by dogs. I'm like, let's do that, right? And then if I'm 30 and broken, we'll just go back to running labs, right? So I think like I would love to be in a position to like at least dabble like competitively in both worlds. Right now I'm too busy with like my Malinois and Shepherds to like do too much with retrieving dogs. Like got this little cocker, and we're not going to do anything competitive. He's just like going to be a hunting companion, kind of a weekend warrior. But I'm super like interested in both. Being able to like train labs and pointers in detection. Like I think there's certain things that like I understand what makes those dogs tick a little bit better than some. Being like indoctrinated into those dogs as a young kid. So like I've raised a lot of labs and some GSPs from puppies up to police dogs, and been pretty successful with those. So that keeps me like, I don't know, like I like to tinker with things. I need like projects all the time, like project dogs. And I think when I'm older, maybe I'll switch more back into the like bird dog side, and just be like, just keep one Malinois for like sport, right? And do a little bit less of this.
What reminds me of that is, or something when you're talking about getting older and running the labs. So when we were in Blue Line, I talked about this on one of the Blue Line podcasts we did. I sat in Pat Nolan's class, and he was just doing directional and showing how to use the e-collar and that. And I walked out of there and I looked at somebody. I go, I consider myself a pretty good dog trainer. I think I'm going to quit after I sit through Pat's class. I think I suck. Like, I don't know shit. I'm done. And it's pretty funny, but it's interesting to watch him do the labs, and his love for the labs. And he's definitely at the age now where it's so much easier for him. If he was decoying like at the amount of time you spend in the suit, he'd be probably directing those labs from a lounge chair out in the middle of his field.
Right. Yeah, like Pat Nolan was a guy that like, I think I was probably 15 when I bought like one of his old DVD sets for training retrievers. And like, I mean, I read this guy's books. I fucking watched his videos. Like I, bought a lab from a puppy and pretty much raised it off of his YouTube stuff. And then when I was at Tarheel, me and Jerry got to talking about him, and he's like, oh, like I can put you in touch with him. So I drove up to, he was living in Maryland at the time, and I drove up to his place and just trained dogs with him for a weekend. He's so impressive. He's been like revolutionary for the last 40 years. Like he was back then, and he still is now. Like the guy just doesn't stop innovating.
No, yeah, and the stuff that he's doing now, like the class that Eric went to, it was a lot of like directionals when you can't see the dog, and there's some things that
they're watching on drones and
still being able to communicate with the dog. And the same thing, like there's a couple of guys that I talked to. We had like right before we had you on, we had Steve White on. He's another one. You listen to that dude talk, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm fucking quitting. And him, and then I sat and talked to Brad Gillespie at Blue Line. It's the same thing. We're gonna have him on. He's another one, and I'm like, every time I hear that dude talk, I'm like, fuck.
Back to the drawing board.
Yeah. Like Brad came down to he's another one. He came down to Tarheel with some of his unit and some dogs for like 2 weeks, I think. And we were teaching them some of our decoy stuff, and then they were training in our facilities at night. And I was like, can I just go learn from him instead? Like, why am I teaching? Like, why am I showing him anything? Like, let me just follow him around and be a fly on the wall. Like it, I just hope like looking at Jerry sometimes, like not to out the man, but Jerry's 60 or close to 60. and he still gets in the suit.
Way
like,
older than me. Way older than I am.
times a week. And I'm like, dude, in another 34 years, am I gonna be still doing that? I don't know. I hope maybe, but fuck.
Yeah, if you're in business for yourself, you will. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. No shit. So you decide that you're going to go down this police dog path. And being at Tarheel means that you're kind of like, it's not forced, but you're integrated into PSA. I mean, so as kind of like the last standing member, Bradshaw was the founder of PSA. And I don't know any people that have gone through Tarheel that don't do PSA or weren't involved in it. I'm sure there are, but I mean, that's the only reason I know them because they're involved in fucking PSA. So, talk about that a little bit because we just had a decoy camp here in the United States. You had some over in England or in Ireland, England and Ireland. So talk about that a little bit, and then I want to talk a little bit about like the police decoy stuff too.
Okay. Yeah. So like for me, I went out to like all the students can come out to club. They can watch. They can suit up. Like they can work their dogs. So I went to Tarheel not knowing anything about PSA. Like honestly, didn't even know it existed. I was just going there to do like police dog stuff. And I went out to the first club and like saw Jerry working his like now level 3 dog. He was just getting started back then. Saw like Sean working his dog that's now in the 3s. Like saw some of these like, you know, now kind of legendary dogs in our sport like early on, and saw some of these people like Adrian and Sean decoying, and I was like, what the fuck is this? Right.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about anything, but I was like, dogs can do that, and they can heel with their head up and then fucking bite and then go and do this and do that. I was like, I got to get me one of these. So I quickly just found a green dog at Tarheel and found a good one and bought it and started my PSA journey there. Certified as a decoy a few months later. You know, pretty much was in the suit like every day, catching club dogs, catching police dogs. Certified as a decoy, I think I was 19. And then like been working trials since then. Titled my dog to a PSA 3, decoyed a couple nationals, right? And now I've traveled to South Africa and the UK to do this sport. So like I consider myself pretty lucky. Like I work really hard at the sport and all the things that I do with dogs. Like I'm not the most physically gifted. I'm not the most talented, but I work at it a lot. And I think on the technical side and the teaching side, like I have the ability to do it, but I definitely have the ability to teach these things to other people. So had some pretty awesome opportunities now to do that and to teach these things like literally all over the world. Yeah, I think like decoying for sport and for police dogs is probably like always going to be like the thing that I'm most passionate about, right? I like all the other stuff. Love to track, love to do detection, but nothing gets me fired up like drinking 4 cups of coffee and talking about fight work at 8 a.m.
4 cups of coffee. So we're going to come right back. We're going to take a break for a second, and we'll be right back in just a second with Ben Lipinski from Tarheel and PSA to talk more about decoy stuff and talk about PSA. So don't go anywhere. Don't fast forward through commercials either.
HITS Canine Training Conference. This is America's premier canine training seminar packed to the brim with the world's best instructors and me and Eric, all covering important topics. There's no better place to learn and no better place to network with other handlers, breeders, and trainers. HITS 2022 is being held in Orlando, Florida this year, August 16th through the 19th. And I know how you guys are. Everybody waits at the last minute. And in the post-Rona world, everybody's training budgets are being cut and everybody's deciding whether they're going to be able to get to go or not. So don't wait, because they're not going to have an infinite number of spots, and the price goes up after a certain date. So get signed up as soon as possible. It's in Orlando. We'll see you there. Be sure to hit them up. HITS Canine, letter K, number 9.net.
One of the best relationships we have in this podcast and in this industry is with the great people down at Kinetic Dog Food. The story of Kinetic Performance Dog Food is pretty simple. They wanted to make a better premium dog food for the dogs that need it the most. Their goal is to give every working and sporting dog a higher energy level, better performance, and better overall health through superior nutrition. So they formulated a line of food based on what they considered to be the optimal profile of a performance dog. They've done tons of research on this. This isn't their first rodeo. These guys know what they're doing. If you're a kennel, they will come to your kennel. They will see the problems that you have. They will check out what works for the dogs that you have. They're amazing people to work with. They drop ship a pallet right to you if you want. I know a lot of guys that use them. There's a bunch of different formulas on there, and 32K might not be for your dogs. Maybe the 26K works. They can adjust it. They'll give you the right ideas what to do in different parts of the year. Winter's different than summer. It's really a well-run, good dog food company, kineticdogfood.com. Be sure to check them out on social media too, man. They're amazing folks. kineticdogfood.com.
By now, you've probably all heard my story at least once. I'm usually getting tagged by dogs or hurting myself. So this next product is like near and dear to me because I actually use it. Quick Turn by Vet Care. It does great for keeping small things from turning into big ones. I use it at the kennel for clients' dogs that have some issues with skin stuff or have food allergies or have environmental allergies. Works great. Keeps hot spots from making giant hot spots. And it keeps my working dogs who inevitably find magnificent ways to hurt themselves from turning it into a giant vet visit. Stops little issues from becoming big ones. So it comes in a spray, it comes in an ointment, comes in a dressing. It's great for creating a protective barrier and promoting wound healing. You really only have to use it like once a day. So there's no reason not to have it in the vehicle. Since it's temperature stable, you don't got to worry about it getting hot, getting cold, or anything like that. So put it in your first aid kit or put it in your cabinet. Vetcare.us on the internet. Quick Derm by Vet Care on on Instagram and on Facebook, and then hit them up with the discount code 10WDR for 10% off your first order.
So my entire time that I was a handler or a trainer in law enforcement, the cars at my department, in the departments that I trained, all had American aluminum accessory kennels in the cars. Different cars, man. Dodge Chargers, all Ford models, some Chevys, SUVs, cars, everything. We loved American aluminum accessories. It's a great product, a great company. They've been serving canine law enforcement community for over 20 years. If you check out their website, EZ, that's the letter Z, EZRiderOnline.com. They got testimonials. They got videos on how to. They got a list of everything they have. Just today, we made a post on the Working Dog Radio social media showing a dog that survived a really bad crash because of the American aluminum kennel in the back of the car. Check them out online, guys. EZRiderOnline.com. Just let them do their thing, man. Whatever car you got for your patrol car, get a hold of them, American aluminum accessories, and get the best in the business.
Next up comes training courses online from our friends down at Highland Canine Training, Jason and Aaron Ferguson. So in the post-Rona world, training budgets have been getting cut. People aren't going to be able to travel, whether it be instructors or they be canine handlers and supervisors going somewhere else for training. So Highland has announced a lot of online training courses. One of those that sticks out to me is their police supervisor canine course. And it's no secret that one of the problems with canine tends to be some of the supervision issues. This course is specifically designed for administrators and covers utilization as well as liability and FLSA issues. The course can be taken at your convenience, and you'll receive a certificate of completion at the end. When you go to Tactical Police Canine Training, that's letter K number 9, training.com, and use the discount code WDR30, you'll get 30% off of that course.
All right, we are back. Working Dog Radio, broadcasting the bite. Back with us is Ben Lipinski. We were just talking about decoying for PSA and police dogs and talking a little bit about that. So I'm also a certified decoy with PSA. I'm a senior level decoy. And there's a misconception, I think, about the decoys in PSA to this day. I mean, it's 2022. We have a rover on Mars that has a drone that's taking fucking selfies on Mars. And there is still a misconception about PSA decoys that they are not skilled. And I saw it the other fucking day.
Yep.
And I think Mondio ring, I mean, all the ring sports and PSA, the decoy requirements are fucking rough, and they have gotten harder since I got certified too, and since you were certified. They're now motherfuckers are carrying around tires and doing like rope juggling and all kinds of crazy shit. But there is a misconception that the PSA decoys aren't skilled. So, talk a little bit about the skill set that's required to be successful as a trial PSA decoy, because I think everyone talking or listening kind of knows what you need to be successful at to be a good like training decoy. But talk a little bit about the trial decoy side.
Yeah. So like number one and number two things are always like safety and consistency. Like those have to be a given. Like you have to be safe regardless of what's coming downfield. Like super fast Malinois, big slow shepherd, leg dog, upper body dog, flea bites. Like you got to be able to catch them all safely and consistently. And then like now with so many decoys coming out to camps, like you can't just be safe and consistent. You also have to be like super powerful right out of the gate. Like you got to be able to test every dog, right? And the thing now that's fucking really kicking my ass is everyone's doing these 3-day trials with 25 dogs a day. So you're on, you know, Friday, Saturday, Sunday afternoon on like dog 70, and it's the threes, and you've been running around yelling, screaming, running at dogs for 3 days now. And it's like, yeah, like you catch a dog, you got a long break before the next one comes out, but like it's not like you're taking your suit all the way off and like going in the AC, right? Like we were just in Arizona doing a 3-day trial in March, and I was like, oh shit, like these are hard, right? So like guys have to show at these camps that they're going to be powerful all the way through from their first catch Saturday morning to their last catch Sunday. So like PSA decoy camps, like look them up on YouTube. There's a ton of videos now. Look them up on Facebook. But we don't do like any of the tiers like other sports. Like, excuse me, we don't go like club level helper, regional level helper, national level helper, you know, like world level. We don't do ring 1, 2, 3. You don't do like selections for, you know, higher level trials down the line. It's like either you're going to go to a camp, probably 2 or 3 camps, and you're either good enough and you pass and you're certified for everything. You can go out and work, you know, PDC, which is the entry level, all the way through the level 3s over a multi-day trial, or you're not good enough and you don't pass. So like it's very common for people to have to do 2 or 3, or I know people have done like 4 fucking camps before they pass, right? It's pretty rare actually that someone like passes on their first try. Like they're usually training and catching dogs for like, you know, a year or a couple years before they hit a camp and pass on their first try. And I really like that, like we make our camps wicked fucking hard, and it's like you're either in with us and you're good enough or you're not, right? So there's this huge like physical component at the camps of like, you know, you can only catch so many dogs when there's 20 decoys there, right? And they got to run through, you know, 12 or more different catches in a day, right? And that's just a lot of fucking bites for a lot of dogs. So like we get you tired. We make you run through like workouts. We make you carry logs and carry tires and smash sledgehammers on tires and throw sandbags and then catch a dog, right? So now we're in a short amount of time trying to replicate like you're hot, you're sweaty, you're exhausted, right? Follow these directions, and then can you still be like technically sound when you run at and catch that dog, right? So like my 4 like pillars would be like safety, consistency, power, and then just an understanding of your scenarios and the rule book, so that when you're mentally fatigued and you're physically tired, like, are you going to be safe and consistent, still bring pressure, and follow the directions on the field?
So I wanted to ask a little bit more about the decoy training, but I do have a question for you. Someone like yourself who's been catching police dogs, you know, as your job for a long time and done a lot of dogs, you know, in a millisecond or in an instant, something maybe on a young dog or something when some pressure's applied, a couple little things real fast that you need to do to keep that dog on there, and we're doing it for the benefit of building the dog. How in the trial, say in the level ones, do you not switch? How does that not automatically become a thing where you maybe just a little flex in your arm kept that dog there? How do you not fall back into that?
Like, I'll be honest, it was super hard my first year, right? I probably worked like 6 or 8 trials my first year, and it happened a few times where a dog wanted out of there and I maybe helped more than I should have, or did something so minor that helped that dog a little bit. And like the senior decoys or the judge at the time, like chewed me out a couple times, right? And that's all it took was someone to be like, hey, we're not fucking doing that this weekend, right? We are here to, test the dog within the rules of the sport. And if he doesn't want to be there, he doesn't want to be there, right? And sometimes that's like really hard because these people, you've seen them on Facebook, they might be a friend of yours, and that dog starts, backing out, and you're like, well, we got to keep bringing that pressure, right? Now, like with how much I've done it, like I've been trial decoying for like it's my 7th year, done a lot of trials. It's pretty automatic, right? Like once I hit that trial weekend, like I get a little bit in the zone, and like I don't, talk to the competitors quite as much. Like we'll socialize on Friday, and then like Saturday morning, I try and just be on the field as much as possible and start to like slightly distance myself from like the people and some of my friends at the trial. Because, like it's part of the job is testing. And if their dog or their training wasn't up to par that day, like I want to, the judge is the one that's going to have to tell them like, hey, you didn't pass. They're going to have to give that hard feedback. Right. But, I don't want to leave any doubt, right? And everyone that passes, like I wanted them to have to earn it, right? It's a very like difficult sport, and earning a pass or a title at any level is like it's a high achievement. And we pride ourselves on like having some of the best decoys in the world. And I think like if you pass a level 1 with like like me or Ted or Jeremy Seapluck or, Josh Kirby on the field, like you earn that shit, and people know that's not easy. Right. But it is a super hard thing to switch your mindset, because 98% of the time you're getting kind of to that avoidance line and you're helping the dog, recover back in. Right. So like some dudes like put in their headphones, listen to music, I just try and create a little space from me and some of the people that are competing in the trial, and just focus on like myself and the decoys. And once I usually like I'm not doing the entry level, and once I watch like some of the other decoys get out there and like start running at dogs and doing their thing, I start to get pretty fired up really quick. And then when I get on the field, I'm like, all right, yeah, like we're tuned in, we're ready.
Now, has it gone the other direction? Have you taken some PSA stuff back to Tarheel that you maybe weren't doing before with police dogs?
Yeah, like it's a super common question, and I can't like help at like these boy schools I'm doing right now for police. Like there's a lot of parallels in things that we want. Like in terms of biting behavior, we want the same stuff. We want those full, firm, pushing grips. We want good targeting. We want like to teach the dog fendeds and secondary targets, right? Like in PSA, we're running downfield with like crazy distractions, which, is that going to happen to your police dog? Like probably not, but wouldn't it be great if he could handle that as well as like handle, trash bags and beer cans and everything being thrown at him in a basement, right? It's kind of the same thing, right? Like the dog's ability to deal with pressure and unknown distraction, like whether it's on the field or in a building search or at the end of a track, like we want the same things there, right? We want the same things out of our muzzle fights, right? We want, hidden sleeve work, right? We want like a little bit of control, like the ability to, stop that dog and call that dog back, right? Like what extent you take your control and your neutrality to really is where the difference is. But like, to me, like a good police dog should be able to pass the level 1 bite work, right? They should be able to, do bites through distractions and do a running courage test. And they should be able to, maybe do like a recall back or a redirected bite, right? Like those things should be, take out the obedience side. Like those things should be like, they should be easy for like a solid police dog, right? So decoying for both, like I still get it sometimes where people are like, oh, like you're he's one of those sport decoys. Like he presents with his arm, right? Like, yeah, man, but guess what? Like building a dog up and teaching him good behavior on the bite is teaching him good behavior on the bite. And if you think I can't like, chew gum and walk at the same time, like you're wrong. Can do two things.
Right. Yeah. We, I spend more time with the police dogs that come through here, and Ted's the same way. I know it is really working on those really good basic mechanics with the dog. Not so much. I mean, we do scenarios, of course, and all the wild stuff and putting them, up against walls and all the other stuff. But I'm telling you, more than that is back tie, table, post up with the handler, or Jordan and I, my assistant trainer. A lot of times, just him and I switching out suit, running dogs, and it's basic, targeting over and over and over again because I use the Sagan's choice paralysis term all the time because it's absolutely, I don't know if he invented it or what, it's perfect. It explains it perfectly. And so people would be surprised on the police side how little runaway bites I actually do. And I know Ted's the same way. We're not just running through the field. I mean, we gotta do some, but
we don't fucking
but not every
not
not every day and not every training. And I would rather just hide in behind a simulated washing machine and fight the dog inside that little washing machine, rather in a tight space, which is where most of the bites are going to be, inside a house, or in a vehicle or up in the bed of a truck and things like that. It doesn't necessarily need to be the 100-yard send or the 100-foot certification type send. But I also I used to do this and I don't anymore, is I don't put the new guy in the 120-foot send.
Yeah.
Or even 50 or 60. I'm not doing it. And this is something funny for you guys that are listening that are running a training group and stuff. At Canton, we did a huge study. We had a guy come out. There's a traffic reconstruction guy that worked for the department. He set up cones. He had a drone flying over. He had timers and lights and all this stuff set up. And we did this scientific study on the dog first it was from a dead stop, then the decoy, which was me. One set was one guy and then me. I think we were at 160 feet, 100, something like that, all the way down. And then they timed it from the start to the finish. The highest speed every single dog hit and their highest amount of force they would be bringing was at 30 feet. After 30 feet, it started to slow down a little bit. And by the time it got to me, people are like, oh, wow, you did 16 dogs at 120 feet. I go, that wasn't hard.
No.
You know what I mean? And then we did it from a running start where they had about 10, 15 yards. And then we timed it when they hit the cone, still 30 feet, 30, 35 feet max speed. So when you're thinking about that, when you have a decoy and you're like, yeah, just go right there. It's not very far. That's not that far. 28 feet. And he just destroys that kid and he jams him and things like that. Those are little things to keep into consideration. But I've never seen a video at Ted's place of a handler or a new guy at 60, 70 feet catching long frontals and stuff like that,
No, we don't do that shit. I mean, I will, and because it's important for the dog to do it, and most of the time distance is not visible. So if they're like super deep in a building, but they rarely have like that fucking runway where the decoy is so far away that they can see the curve of the earth, like the dog kind of comes over the horizon. We don't fucking do that. I've done some. We did one in a handler school a couple months ago. It was like a long send and an area search, but still the dog like was slowed up from a tree line. And not like the KMPV sends. We don't do that shit either. Like I don't do the.
I want the dog to maybe be able to lock on a target that far away and like recognize something and go there. But then like, I'm totally cool with the decoy. Just there's no reason for him to take the bite from that far. Just like bail around some trees into the woods, make that dog take a corner and slow him way down. But like, yeah, like the only time I'll really stretch things out like that is because I want to see the dogs like lock into a target, you know, that's that far away, right? Like not every dude's going to be right there in front of you, right? But that doesn't mean they need to take a hit that's 100-yard send, right? Like bail around something, let the dog slow down coming around the corner, and then you're just taking another like back tie bite, right? Like he's right there.
So I got one more question, then we're going to take another break, and then we're going to get pretty heavy into the PSA training side of the dogs. So a lot of police women don't get into suits, you know, canine girls, they don't get into suits. There's a lot of women that training groups that don't decoy. Ted and I know several, and I know you do too, several really top-notch female decoys. When we were doing HRD, or when I do other seminars, Eloise is a friend of ours who Eloise comes and decoys for us all the time, and I'd let her decoy any dog at any time. But when you're at these camps and you're seeing it, what do you see that sometimes the women are better at than the men? It might not be the power, maybe would be my guess, but what the way they move, or what you see that you're like, oh yeah, she's going to do good, better than clodhopper dude over here.
Yeah, the really the really nice thing about teaching like females to decoy is they tend to have way less bad habits. Even if they have like decoyed some and they have experience, like they tend to have less bad habits. And this is a thing where like anyone, like firearms instructors, they're like, I'd way rather teach a woman, right? They're more receptive to teaching, but like, you know, dudes always try and muscle it. Like they try and muscle through everything.
Sounds like jujitsu.
Yeah, like it's a good, like that might have worked for you and you might throw some dogs around in a video, but like, you know, muscling a lot of your stuff in decoy work is, you know, more risk for injury for the dog and yourself, and you're burning yourself out, like doing more work than needed, right? Like really like catching a dog and, you know, applying pressure to the dog comes down to like good technique and being able to learn like the footwork and positioning for things. And like, as long as that girl like has a little bit of balls, right? And can hang in there like in the pocket with, you know, a 80-pound dog coming at her. Like if they apply the technique, like they're going to stay upright, right? So, you know, there might also be a piece of like, you know, this maybe would be a good question for like female decoys, like Taylor that I work with, like she, you know, initially would fall down a lot, right? Because she's like 100 pounds soaking wet, and we know how big and fast Malinois can be. So like she didn't want to be taken down anymore, right? Whereas like some guys like bigger than myself, because I'm not very big, like they might not get taken down, but they're definitely not doing like good decoy technique, right? Mm-hmm. So they might think they're okay, right? And have this like false perception. And then like really what we're seeing is like a lot of jams, a lot of muscling, a lot of just swinging the dog with muscle instead of absorbing through the catch and letting, if that dog goes up in the air, it's just by his own momentum, right? So like for me, like females are more receptive to teaching. They have less bad habits, and they're forced to learn technique better because they can't get away with just being big.
I thought of one last question before we go to break. At the beginning of a camp, do you ever ask guys, hey, did you play sports? What'd you do growing up? I would think being athletic growing up makes a person, because I've always said that guys that grew up playing sports are better handlers of dogs for the finesse of the leash and you know, and more finesse moves like that, rather than, you know, I trained a guy years ago who couldn't throw a ball. He literally could not. He threw it backwards before. He would throw it straight into the ground. I'm like, I was a farmer. I didn't play. I'm like, what the hell it's a ball? But do you find that the guys who maybe grew up athletic are better or no?
Yeah, it definitely helps, right? And like I think the big thing about sports is like you're used to being coached and critiqued, right? At least maybe in like the older generation. I don't know how it is today. Like it might be different. everyone's always doing great, even if you're losing. But like you're used to being coached and critiqued and like working on a skill, right? So like you have that athleticism, but then they're like continuing to work on different skills, right? Like I think honestly, some of the worst decoys I see are like big bodybuilder type guys, right? That are very rigid and isometric with their movements. And they're not like, nothing screams like fluid, right? Who's like that, but better is like your SF guys, right? Where they're jacked and they work all the time, but they're always learning new skills, right? Whether it's how to work this radio or this camera or this weapon system or this drone or this dog, right? So they're constantly like, like team guys, they're essentially being like trained to learn new skills, right? And adapt to new skills all the time. So we just had a guy go through the camp last weekend who's in one of our, team groups in the United States. I don't know if I can say like which one. And he's jacked. He's, had no problem with the physical drills, but he was super fluid, right? And he's always, going to new schools and learning new skills. So he's coachable, right? And that's a big thing. It's just being
pretty
coachable.
cool. All right, we're going to go ahead and take our second break. When we get back, we're going to get into, since this is working dog radio, we're going to get into the dog side of PSA, which is pretty fascinating to me. And stick around, guys. Check out the discount codes in the show notes. And make sure you didn't just walk away because you missed Ben smoking down a bush latte real quick in the before we go to break. So stick around. We'll be right back. All right, we love the Perkinsons down in North Carolina at Highland Canine Training. They are great people, great trainers. They got a good business model. They're awesome folks. We've been with them for a long time. They're also super smart, and they understand that a lot of agencies are struggling to have manpower, so they're not sending people away for training. You guys have been there. You put in, denied, lack of manpower. So they've created an online course section of their website, tacticalpolicecaninetraining.com. You get on there under training, the online course. But here's the best thing is they offer a canine supervisor course, which we know a lot of police canine supervisors don't get to go to training. They don't know as much as they should. Right here online, the course discusses topics such as proper selection of dogs and handlers, proper deployment, effective allocation and utilization, as well as liability and the FLSA issues, which we know is where all the legal stuff comes from, interdepartmental. The course can be taken at your convenience, and you will receive a certificate of completion at the end. They're offering an amazing discount, guys. 30% off using the discount code WDR30. It's a no-brainer. If you're a police supervisor and you guys have manpower issues and you can't go, get on tacticalpolicecaninetraining.com under the training tab. Get on that supervisor's course, man. I'm telling you, it's a smart decision.
Another one of our favorite partnerships with the podcast here is the one and only Dogtra. The Dogtra guys have been producing some amazing tools in the dog training world for a long time. Everything from e-collars, GPS tracking, ball trainers. If it's electric and you use it with a dog, they've probably done it. They're the best. They are revolutionizing the way you communicate with the dog. I use it daily, whether I'm using pets. I use the 200C on most of our pets. Most of my patrol guys will use a 1900 hands-free, 1900S hands-free, and then I use the ball popper pretty much daily with all of our detection dogs for imprinting on our box protocols. So hit them up at Dogtra Official on Instagram and Facebook, and then you've got dogtra.com. And when you go there, if you use the discount code WDR10, they'll give you 10% off a single item over $200. So if you're looking at a 1900S or that Ball Popper Pro or one of those things, it'll knock a substantial chunk off there. So hit them up, doctor.com, WDR10.
So everybody knows that Ted and I not only train police dogs, we train pet dogs, right? We train dogs. So it's why our relationship with Ray Allen Manufacturing is so important. These guys have been doing this so long. They knew and they understand that dogs are dogs, and it's not just working dog people that need things for their dog and dog training. So you go to rayallen.com. They have everything dog related that you need. Anything that when it comes to dogs, pet dogs, your pet, training dogs, police dogs, dogs you're training for other departments, anything you need, rayallen.com. They've got it. You can get on there. So if you're ordering stuff for police dogs, and if you have a pet side, you can get it all in one, man. They ship it out. Got a nice big box full of a whole bunch of stuff. There's nothing better than getting a big box of dog training stuff in the mail. They also are great to us, and they offer a discount code Working Dog Radio, all capital letters, Working Dog Radio, for 10% off. Check them out, rayallen.com. Great people. Ted and I use them every day.
Super excited to have American Aluminum Accessories on board with us here at the podcast. These guys manufacture a wide variety of products, from high quality cam locker toolboxes to an extensive line of products designed to meet the ever-changing needs of the law enforcement community. Around 1992, due to the demand for safe and secure transport for a local law enforcement agency's canine unit, they introduced the very first in-vehicle Easy Rider canine container. So it was basically what we now call just our inserts. They have continuously grown and expanded the products, catering to the needs and the wants of their valued customers and high-profile clientele, and catering specifically to law enforcement. Over the years, as the needs have changed for law enforcement, they've evolved and expanded the products to include inmate transport systems, the canine training aids, which I use quite a bit of, canine inserts. Every one of my guys has one of those things. And if you're not even have to be in law enforcement, I have several friends that are civilians that work lots of dogs that have the inserts put into their cars too. So if you got one that fits, you can do it. They also do contraband and animal control systems, just to name a few. So be sure to hit them up. The website is Easy Rider Online. So that's the letter E, the letter Z as in zebra, rideronline.com. If you're looking for them on Instagram and Facebook, it's American Aluminum Accessories. Feel free to hit them up there too.
So our first and oldest sponsor that's been with us from the beginning is Arno out at ALM, out there in Las Vegas area. Arno is a great dude. He makes great stuff for police work and sport work, suits, tugs. I'm telling you right now, his tugs are the best in the business. You can't get any better. Multiple colors. I buy boxes of them from him, give them out to everybody. I've got a bite suit from him. Love it. I've had it for a little over 3 years, and it's holding up like a champ. Ted's got a suit that he's had forever from ALM. We wouldn't go anywhere else, man. We love it. Arno is such a good dude. His ALMcanineequipment.com is the website. Get on there. He's got pre-made suits. He can do custom suits based on your measurements. He's got stuff already made up. If you kind of get a kind of generic large size, maybe for everybody, the colors he has, man, is really cool. He can put a lot of stuff on those suits. Check him out. ALMcanineequipment.com, and use the discount code WD Radio for 10% off.
Running a kennel is one of those things that I always worry about, is cleanliness and safety of dogs. And it seems like it's an ever-changing issue, being able to house dogs and move things around, everything else. So the guys at Horizon Structure make this as easy as possible. Literally, the only thing you have to do is have water and power hookups, and they deliver it, and you can put dogs in that day. And it comes on a trailer. They just drop it off. You plug it in, put dogs in it, and you're ready to rock. You keep them clean, you keep them safe, you keep them cool in the summer and warm in the wintertime. And it's completely custom. You can go complete mild to wild. I've seen some that were stainless steel all the way from top to bottom on the inside. And then I've seen some for a bulldog breeder that, had smaller gates because those things can't jump. So if you reach out to them, they're sitting there waiting for you to call and help you through the custom design process. They have everything from 2 dog ones up to, I want to say like 18 or 20. It's you can put a lot of dogs, indoor, outdoor runs. So anything you've ever dreamed of, they've got it, have done it, or can do it. So they've taken all the guesswork out of building it. Everything is pre-done to your specifications, and it's assembled, dropped off, boom, you're ready to rock. These things are amazing. Rigney has one. We've had him on the show a couple of times. Go check out his Instagram, and you can see he's posted it up there before. Go look Horizon up at Horizon Structures, spelled out. On the internet, it's horizonstructures.com, and you're going to look for the link in there that says commercial dog kennels, or give them a call, 888-447-4337. They'd love to talk to you and get you started on the way.
All right, everybody, we're back, Working Dog Radio. Ted and I are sitting here with Ben Lipinski, talking sports. This is a sport dog episode, specifically PSA. I didn't really know much about PSA before I met Ted, and started talking to him about it. I was like, what's a PSA decoy? And then I got on YouTube and started watching some of the videos, from trials. And I was like, holy shit, my dogs won't do any of that. And I just got fascinated, and I've learned a lot more from this podcast than anything, or just sitting around at an Airbnb, having a beer with Ted out of town and asking questions about it. So I told him in the message here, I said, I'll break and we come back. You two guys can nerd out over the PSA dog training part of it. But what I am fascinated by, real quick, is, and I'll ask you this one question, and we asked it before, but how long has PSA been around, and how many PSA 3 dogs are there, which I'm fascinated by?
Yeah, so PSA started in 2001, so we're in our 21st year, and there are, as of 2 days ago, there are 30 PSA 3 dogs. So
that's crazy.
I was last year I was number 28, and then we had dog 29 pass end of last year, and then just this past weekend in South Africa, we had dog number 30, and that was our first international level 3 dog. So a dog trained somewhere other than the United States to pass level 3. South Africa has been at it for like 7 years now. And Charles, who started the sport over there, he just passed his and closed out his level 3. So we're at 30 dogs in 21 years to title to the highest level.
And, it's an interesting concept because a lot of times from the beginning, PSA was kind of presented as a crossover, right? So if you did these other sports, come try PSA, like if you've titled in Mondio or French Ring or whatever, right? Schutzhund was a huge one, or IPO, whatever we're calling it now. American Schutzhund, come over and try PSA. And it was this, and this is not a knock because all of these sports are fucking hard, like really hard. And it has a lot to do with what's being judged, what's not being judged, and how it's being judged. So because I get this question all the time when people ask me about PSA, they're like, well, what's the difference between it and like Schutzhund? I'm like, oh, there's a ton. And
yeah, a few things.
Yeah. To water it down, Schutzhund's about precision and PSA is about control. And I say that kind of just like as a blanket statement. And it's somewhere along the line, I don't know where this happened or how this happened, but at some point PSA was sold, or there was a myth started about how it's real life and it's testing real life. And I'm like, no, we're not like, we have to have something to fucking judge. Like, no, it's not meant to mimic real life. It's not, we have things that we have to judge. So while PSA sometimes gets a knock because it looks a little chaotic, there is quite a bit of control, more so than I would say any other sport available, any other canine sport like bite suit sport. The control required for the dog and handler team is exceptional. And the other thing that I tell people is that in PSA, the handler is not just there to hang out. Like in some of the IPO side, like some of those dogs are fucking robots. Not as a knock, because you're training to leave it to the fucking Germans to suck the fun out of anything. And it's like a 9,000 page rule book, right? And you're like counting the steps you take while fucking tracking. And I'm like, this is bullshit. And the precision required, and just look at the scores. Look at the scores in a trial. You can take the top 20 dogs and they're separated by like 6 points or something ridiculous. So first and foremost, they're all hard, like really fucking hard. And one thing that I hear routinely is, how do I get started in PSA? Well, besides you find a good club, but dog selection is just like in police work, is a massive, massive undertaking that should not be taken lightly. Talk a little bit about that, because your dog now, he's retired, right? So he can sit on the couch and do like hood rat shit, and doesn't mean he doesn't have to out anymore. So talk a little bit about selection for PSA versus I mean, you can talk about the selection for police dog work, but I don't want to go like too far into that. But
like you're totally right. Like to even dream about like getting a level 3, you have to start with the right material. Like you have to start with the right dog. There's a variety of different types of dogs that have gotten a level 3, and I mean like different temperaments. We're still sitting at only one German Shepherd out of those 30 dogs, right? the rest like Malinois and Dutchies. So, you know, but I mean, even more so than that, like selecting a dog that is going to have a drive. They're going to have stamina, like some things that you can't necessarily like build to a certain degree. Like if that dog is, you know, a short-faced Rottweiler, like he's going to struggle with the amount of bites that are in a level 2 or a level 3 routine, right? Now he might still be capable, but like you're starting at a deficit, right? Like you're starting, you know, several steps behind, because you have to not only worry about difficulty of the level and the sport, but you also have to worry about your dog's just going to be gassed, right, on bite number 16. You know, like an IPO3 has like 5 bites, and some of those are reattacks. Like it's not a lot, right? So you have to like have the right dog. That dog's going to have like a good nerve, right? You can't pass a PSA 2 or a PSA 3 without your dog biting through water, right? You can't pass now without them having a good muzzle fight, right? You can't pass without them being sound with all mechanical environmentals and tight spaces. Like you cannot pass a level 3 without those things. And then even if your dog has all that, now the question becomes, are you around enough good decoys to help you teach all these control behaviors? And do you have a club and some direction for the upper levels of the sport to be able to train that dog, right? Like I fortunately selected a dog that was going to be capable of the bite work portions of this sport, right? And I selected a good green dog from Tarheel that like genetically and with a little bit of training was going to be capable of biting through those like environmental stressors that are in this sport and doing the muzzle fights. And he's got the temperament and the genetics to be able to handle that. And then if I hadn't been around like Tarheel or a really solid club, there's no way that on my first dog at, you know, what was I, 25 when I titled to the 3, like that I was going to be able to do that, right? Most people, if they get a 3, it's usually like their second dog, or their dog is like mine, and he was, you know, almost 8 years old when he titled, right? And we'd been training it for 7 years in order to take the dog that had the ability and put the level of control on him. So like selecting a dog that is going to be capable of doing it is paramount, right? Now, like if you don't have that dog, like don't let that deter you from the sport. Like chances are, even if you do have a good dog, you might not get there. So like go ahead and try it out and see if you even like this, and see if you can, you know, put a PDC and a level 1 on the dog and see if you enjoy it, right? Because if you don't, like the nice thing is in the US, there's a shitload of sports that you can do, right? So, you know, it's also like, is there going to be availability of decoys and clubs around you to help you? Because you're not going to be able to do this alone. Like I guarantee no one that titled to a 3 did it, you know, with them and like one decoy. Everybody had a lot of help.
Yeah. And, you know, that's the, having been a decoy for a long time and done lots of trials, and, you know, you kind of get a feel. You mentioned stamina, and I have a great like kind of story about that. We did a trial in Houston, like, a while ago, 5 or 6 years ago. And it was right before, I don't know if Megan had her first leg of her 3 yet or not. I think she was trying to close out her 3, and it was early, I think it was in April, and I was the first bite in the 2s and the last bite in the 2s through all the scenarios. And every single dog, I mean, came fucking mocking in on the first bite. And then the last bites were fucking terrible. Like shitty grips, shitty, you know, sloppy targeting. Like it was bad. And it was humid in Houston. It was hot, right? Like some of these people lived up near like St. Louis, and it was like in the 30s, and it was like 65 and humid, 70 humid. I think it was hotter than that down in Houston. Stamina was definitely a limiting factor, without a doubt. The other thing I want to address too is that I hear this all the time. They're like, oh, because it's a PSA dog, it won't bite for real. And I'm like, man, I got some bad fucking news for you. I've worked some dogs in trials, some that were going for their 3 that were straight fucking street sweepers
Yeah.
that are dangerous dogs, without a doubt. And like one off the top of my head I'm thinking about is Lee Ray's dog. The fuck was that dog's name?
Kilo?
Yeah, CeeLo. Yeah, CeeLo. Yeah. That dog is gnarly. And everyone's like, oh, because he's got a sport title means he's not going to bite anybody. I'm like, the fuck it does. Like, man, no. I hear that a lot. They're like, oh, it comes from sport lines, or it's this, or it's that. And I'm like, man, I've got bad news for you. Like, those dogs don't give a shit what you are wearing. If you're wearing a suit, if you're not wearing a suit, we use hidden equipment, we use muzzles. And man, some people get super heated about it. I'm like, well, I mean, come out and try it. If you don't believe me, don't do it. It doesn't matter to me. But yeah, finding a club and finding the decoys and starting with the right dog makes a huge difference. PSA is hard enough as it is. People come to me, they're like, I want to title a boxer. I'm like, okay. I mean,
Just don't start yourself at that deficit, man. Like, I'm telling you, right? My girlfriend right now, she's into like bullies and pit bulls, right? But she's aware of it, right? She's like, I just like this breed, right? So we're doing bite
Right.
work with our American bully, and it's like, you're just like, for the dog's short little face and heavy body to open up enough to strike a bicep on 6'4", 280 Sean Siggins, right? Like, that's hard. That alone is hard. Now have the obedience and the control and the nerve in that dog. Like, just getting that dog to open up enough to bite that giant NFL lineman coming downfield in a bite suit, like, that's hard, right? So like, if it's something that, like, I hate making generalizations, but if you want to be seriously competitive, it's like, just get a Malinois or a really well-bred German Shepherd. Like, don't, tell people all the time, I'm like, don't try and be different, just be good, right? Unless it's like, if you just want to have fun with it, that's awesome, right? And I wanted to mention with your, like, sport dog that won't bite for real thing, or dog can't do sport because he's too real. Like, these generalizations are ridiculous. Like, at the end of the day, they're a dog, right? And they know what you teach them to know, right? Like, he doesn't know he's a sport dog. He just knows this is what we do when we go out to train, right? Like, my dog would have been capable of doing any sport or any line of police work. We just happened to choose to do this one, right? And that's what we focused our time and our energy on. So it's like, are there sport dogs that will fight anyone? Yeah. Are there sport dogs that will nuke you? Yeah. Are there police dogs that, could do both? Yeah. Are there police dogs that, like, don't bite people? Yeah. Like, it all comes down to what you train them to do. And if you like, have good help in that training, and you know what you're doing with it too. Like, the dog doesn't know what he is. He just comes out and does shit that he likes, or that you teach him to do.
Ted, you said that people say that originally the PSA, that's more like real life. If you live like in the Thunderdome or like on Tatooine and you're at the bar with all those weird characters, something like that's a nerd reference for you Star Wars people. But if you
I was like, what the fuck?
just go back and watch some of the videos. So a follow-up question to my number of PSA 3, how many of the 30, how many trainers and handlers, whatever, that have titled more than one, or put more than one in the 3s?
So you have my boss, Jerry Bradshaw, has 3 level 3 dogs. 2 of those happening back in the early 2000s, where it was like a totally different sport then. Still very hard, but now the level of training has, like, caught up to the sport, and they've made the sport more difficult to, like, kind of keep it the most challenging thing around, right? In my opinion, right? And then a dog he titled just last year in the level 3s. So he's been competitive and been titling level 3s, 3 of them for the whole time. And then you have John Katz has 3 level 3s, and Janet Edwards has 2, right? Everyone else just has 1 level 3 dog, and, like, that's plenty.
Yeah.
Because it'll be, if I get another one, it'll be like a minimum of another 4 or 5 years. Like I don't even have a puppy to work right now, so it'll be another 4, 5, 6 years before I do it again, if I ever do. Like, it's not a given, right? Life might get in the way. You might get that dog till like 5 years old, and then he, like Ted, Stacy and Tuco, like that dog busted so many teeth, fractured his jaw, like eventually healed and was able to finish it. And then, unfortunately, the dog passed away shortly after. And like, there's been plenty of people that are 5, 6 years into the journey, and then the dog, kicks the bucket and you don't get to finish. Like it's a daunting journey, and you have to just like it. But that's like, for me, that's what's so intriguing about this sport is it's not something I'm going to just do for 3 years, title to the threes, try and make a nationals or a world team run. Oh, we didn't get it. Next dog. Right. And then those dogs are like effectively retired by 3 or 4. Right. Like by 3 or 4, I was just starting with my dog. Yeah. And then we were continuing to train all the way up until like 8 years old. Right. And if I wanted to, like, he's healthy enough, we could keep running level 3 trials because no two are the same. So it would continue to be fun, right? I just want to retire him in healthy condition and let him, ride the couch and not out anymore.
That's an interesting because I somebody asked me this at Blue Line. I had somebody ask me this, and you're like, why aren't there any? Because there's tons of working police dogs that have an IPO or whatever we're doing now, 1, 2, or whatever. And there is a lot that have PH1s, right, which from the KMPV program. And somebody's like, why aren't there any like PSA dogs doing? I'm like, because PSA is fucking hard. Like, I think, yeah, I mean, no one wants to fucking buy them. They're like, I mean, I think Georgia.
Well, people want to buy them. Nobody wants to sell them, I bet.
Well, there's that too. But they're kind of like NVBK dogs where normally the dog the dog retires with the handler. I don't think there's any cases where the dog ends up somewhere else. Well, I can think of at least one, but it's an isolated incident. But, like those dogs usually, the same thing with like NVBK dogs, like they'll do, 14 trials or something for their 3, kind of the same deal. And then by the time they're like 8 or 9, they retire and they're like, yeah, just sleep on the dude's couch. And because it's fucking hard. Not that there's a knock against like IPO or the PH1 program, the KMPV program. But the KMPV program is designed to kind of like prep those dogs for police work, right? So that title has meaning to some trainers, and if that were the case, that has to be done fairly early for it to be valuable. Same thing with some of the IPO stuff. But I've seen dogs that are 24 months old with an IPO 3, and I'm like, shit. I've seen fucking dogs in PSA that are like 4 years old and don't have a fucking PDC yet, and so I'm like, bro. But they're like, oh, I don't, and that's the thing. Like, I don't think people understand. Like, it's fucking hard. Like, even with the right dog and the right club, it is still like a very, to even get a 1 can be a daunting task for some people. So,
there's never been a level 3 dog that has been sold, right? That I'm aware of in PSA. If there is one, I don't know about it. It might have been a long time ago. There's never been in current years that has been sold. Me and John Katz, who I think you guys had on like a good while ago.
Yeah, it was like episode number 4.
Yeah, early.
Yeah, like a long time ago.
Listeners, you should go back and check that out. But me and John were in South Africa together, and we were talking about would you ever title a dog in this for someone else? And he actually had a guy approach him and like seriously ask him to pick out a dog, train it to a 3 for him, right? Kind of like gun dog guys would do, right, like horse people would do. And he said, like, straight up, he goes, minimum $100,000. Like, it's going to take years of my life, and I'm probably going to have to go buy you 3 dogs and work them all for a couple of years to figure out which one I'm going to pursue it with. And you're going to pay me $50,000 up front, and then another, $20,000 for every title that we get. And I'll try and get you a 3. Right. And I was like, yeah, man, like probably the same.
That's fair.
Like I'm not, you're not taking on that journey for someone else. Like I do it because I like it. Like you're not gonna you're not going to like do this sport to title dogs and sell them for money. It's too much work.
But how about the PSA breeding program? When's that going to be official? What do we? I mean, think about it. That's a viable option.
Yeah, there's quite a few like good breedings happening within the sport. Of titled dogs, of level 3, level 2 dogs. Like there's starting to be now like multiple generations of dogs that are titled. We have some father-son combos of level 3 dogs. Like I think like if this sport keeps growing at the rate it is, like it could be a very viable option of like solid nerve dogs with good grips that can take pressure and take stress from the handler for breeding for police in this country.
Yeah,
right?
I was gonna say that's what I was like. That's what I want. I want some of those young ones.
Yeah,
that
give Ted and us the high sign when that shit starts.
Yeah, because then
I might actually get puppies if that's the case.
That's where it's at, because that's what we need, and and that's ultimately what I think. Because when we had Jonathan on, man, that's been a while. Geez, episode 4 or 5 was something. It was less than 10. And we talked. He was like, and he was just talking about. I don't remember which litter it was, but like I think it made a cougar litter or something. But he said, this is like one of the first PSA like
Decoy 2.
No,
God, just kidding.
Fucking Decoy 2. Jesus Christ, unicorn. And he, but it was one of the very first litters that was like this purposely bred for like from dogs that had PSA titles. I don't remember which litter it was. I have to go back and listen to it now. If Johnson's listening to this, he's gonna fucking send me an inbox. And yeah,
that might be one of the episodes that fell off at the front that we can't find on iTunes.
I don't know.
First few of them aren't on there anymore. I guess I don't know. Must not have paid iTunes or something. I don't know. Weird. So I have a question real quick. How many official PSA clubs are there in the country? In the world?
Okay, so this is interesting, right? And I don't want to like I don't know who's even going to listen to this episode. Probably no one, right? Because I'm no one. But there was a podcast done recently by 2 of the most prominent dog trainers in canine, right, in dogs, and they brought up PSA at the end as like an afterthought of dog sports. Like they talked about ring, they talked about Mondio, they talked about IPO, right? I think they even talked about like fucking dock diving before they brought up PSA, right? And they're like, oh, the sport's like definitely not going anywhere. It's growing, right? And
what?
I was that guy like yelling in my car, right? Like, what are you talking about? Like, this sport is huge now, right? You can go online, right? And people can do this themselves. And you can look up the North American ring clubs, and they're like French ring clubs. And there's like 35 on their website, right? And you can look up Mondio's clubs in the United States, and there's like 25, right? PSA has like 86 active clubs in the United States, right? 86, that's more than French ring and Mondio combined, right? And something around 20 international clubs that are active. And we lost a lot in India and Australia during the COVID pandemic. But they're going to activate again. We just had like Pat Stewart's going to keep PSA going in Australia. And then we just had a guy from India fly to the United States to do Decoy camp. So they're going to keep going and they're going to grow. So we're sitting at over 106 clubs in the world, right? And over 140 certified decoys in the world, right?
That is not that many.
That dwarfs the other suit sports, though.
Yeah. 140 is not that many, dude.
It's enough to fulfill all of our trials.
Yeah,
but
right. But shit.
Yeah, like it's still a like coveted thing to get, right?
So I'm always interested in the dynamics of this type of stuff with clubs. So, is there shit talking amongst clubs? And do any of
course.
them go to a trial and wear matching jackets like they're Hell's Angels or something like that?
Uh,
And three, if Jerry goes to another club, is it like Sonny Barger showing up, the founder of the Hell's Angels, and everybody's just in awe that dude's there? Anyways, answer in whatever order you want.
So yeah, of course, there's drama within clubs and there's drama between clubs, right? And that's not PSA exclusive. And like my thing is that's not dog exclusive. Like people in any niche group of like a passion, there's politics, there's drama, there's fucking problems with any time that you get a group of people together that are passionate about something. Like talk to fighters. They're like, oh, this guy started training with him and then he switched to training with him. And I hear he's doing his striking with this guy, right? Like talk to horse people, talk to motocross people. Like they all say the same stuff. So yeah, there is that, right? For the most part, people are extremely polite and everyone's supportive of each other, like on trial day, because first and foremost, you're competing against the sport. Maybe in like lower levels, you're like trying to beat other people's scores. When you're getting into the threes, you're just trying to pass. You don't give a shit about anyone else's score. You're just trying to pass and, buy your dog a, steak dinner. Right. And unfortunately, there are clubs that have the matching jackets. That's not for me so much. And then
I'm not bagging on him. I told Ted I envision like the scene in Anchorman where all the news teams come down and they're getting ready to fight. And they're like,
Nationals.
Ben killed a guy with a trident, or something like that afterwards.
Nationals can be like that. And it's just like a pride thing, right? It's like I want to rep my group and I'm proud of my group, right? Seeing Jerry at events where people don't see him a lot. Like I work with the man every day, but like sometimes like we were at a trial somewhere last fall together in like the middle of the country. I think we were here in Missouri, and someone walked up and was like, "Are you Jerry?" And he was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Can you sign Controlled Aggression?" And I'm like, "Is this dude really asking Jerry to sign his book?"
Right before he's getting ready to compete.
And he signs it. He talks to the guy, and I'm like, I work with the guy every day. He's my boss. He's my friend. He's my training director, right? So it's just kind of like, oh, it's just Jerry, right? But sometimes, people are like, oh my God, like it's fun. So you don't come over and be like, oh my God, like thank you so much for creating this thing, right? Because now thousands of people compete in it, right? Like there's a couple thousand active members, right? That's the other thing I didn't mention is like active members. We have like a couple thousand people that are actively like competing in it and training in it, right?
That's really cool, man. I like hearing all that and the growth of it. And
Eric, I got one for you.
Yeah.
You ever think about, doesn't have to be PSA, but you ever think about competing in anything now that you're done with like policing?
Yeah, I'm competing with enough hours in the day right now is what I'm competing with. This whole 24-hour clock. But actually, I just to do something away from dogs, I started doing jujitsu.
Oh, there you go.
I've only been going since February, so not that long. But I'm 52, so if I progress and get better, I'll actually probably do some competition in my age group, and so that'll be something different. I am trying to do some things outside of dogs.
I think that's like super good, right? Maybe you don't want to, fill your free time with dogs too, right? Sometimes I wish I did a few more things outside of dogs, right?
Skiing and, my plan this year was to do a lot more wakeboarding, but last year I got a couple concussions at the end of the year from it. And I probably should be done trying to flip and do stupid stuff on a wakeboard because I'm old. But so yeah, I'm just trying to do things outside of dogs, because like when we're done here in a few minutes, I leave and going to the kennel, take care of dogs. It never ends. I tried to think, and you guys can appreciate this. A friend of ours, we were at lunch with my wife and I, and she says, can you or have you ever gone through a day without saying the word dog? Like, even if you're on vacation in South America, could you not say the word dog? I'm like, I don't think so. I don't think that would ever be a possibility.
It's never happened.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
not a
think so.
chance.
Even if I hate dogs.
Yeah. It was something.
Which
Something.
I have said, and it's usually, yeah, I've said that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to do. But
Yeah.
I appreciate people that do it, man. Whatever people's passions are. You know, there was a over the winter, there's a guy local to me who is in a Mondio Ring club, and they brought in a decoy from overseas, and they used I know this because they used the fun house because it was middle of winter. They used my building, and there's this huge room where you can work on some distance, and they had him up there, and there was just a bunch of people up there. Some had started and been doing a little bit, some had no experience at all, but they're all passionate about it. It was cool to it was really cool to see those people get into something that they enjoyed. You know, I sat downstairs and took naps on the couch, but because,
For sure.
you know, not my thing. My goal was to try to snipe one of their dogs if he looked really good, but maybe too much for them. Or, you know, I don't think he barks a lot. I don't think he'll make a podium. Throw him in the van,
Yeah.
you know, that type of thing. But
Yeah.
didn't happen. Didn't see any. So, where are you headed next after this?
So in Missouri this week, and then back to work in North Carolina. I got a PSA trial in North Carolina, and then I have another decoy school in Washington State in May as well. That's at the end of the month, right? That one's pretty jam-packed, right? I heard we have like 15, 20 decoys coming to that. It's a police school. And then doing a muzzle fighting seminar with Jerry in North Carolina right after that one. And that's going to be for sport and law enforcement, anyone that needs better muzzle work. So I imagine it'll be a lot of Jerry talking and me getting beat up.
Yeah. Here's how you don't let him punch you in the face.
Yep.
Bam.
See Ben.
Yeah. Ted, did you say that the PSA one you're doing is in the Bay Area, like San Francisco Bay Area?
It's in San Jose.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's gonna be hot.
Well, I'm from Oklahoma. It's
That's
all hot. I don't care. I'll be fine. Of course, it's fucking 40 degrees here today. So, like, we're 20 degrees below normal. So I'm like, I had a fucking sock.
Dogs like it.
I'm over it. Yeah, I don't mind. I do better in the heat anyway. But yeah, it's the end of May. Tony Matthews is the one that is bringing me out. I think it's the.
Yeah, you'll be out there with Steve Roberts.
Yeah,
you know, he's the judge. That'll be fun.
Yeah, I decoyed under him when he was in Oklahoma City too. So he's another PSA 3 club guy. He had a Dutch. What's his Dutchie's name? I don't remember the dog's name.
Fosco.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. No, I like Steve. He's got the best accent in the fucking world.
That's another dog that, like, he had live bites.
I believe it. I believe that. 100%.
So, Ben, we're gonna wrap up. Do you have anything you want to plug? Any social media of any kind, or?
Yeah, like I'm just Ben Lipinski on Facebook and Instagram, or it's like Ben.Lipinski, but you'll find me. And then I have a Patreon now for decoy work. So what I'm doing with that is making like instructional and informational like decoy videos, and trying to like go in depth on very specific skills with decoy work. Like I have one on there about muzzle fighting and some drive theory.
Hey, hold on one second.
On there.
Hold on one second. When you started to give your social media, it got all row body. So we're gonna go ahead and ask you again. Do you have any social media you want to plug? Start that part over for me.
Yep. So I'm just Ben Lipinski on Facebook and Instagram. Or I think it's Ben.Lipinski on Instagram. And then the big thing now, I have a Patreon account. It's just Ben Lipinski. It says like Ben Lipinski is making decoy videos, where I'm making like instructional videos for decoys. Each video like goes through different specific skills, right? Like I have a video on there about teaching muzzle fighting, like drive channeling, a video on just like different ways to induce countering in the dog's bite. You know, I'm doing some right now on like targeting or working a defensive dog. Like there's going to be stuff on there for sport, for police, a lot of stuff on developing dogs. And I'm trying to put like 2 videos up a month on that. I made it like super cheap to subscribe. I just didn't want to put stuff out like totally for free where you get all the people in the comments that are like, oh, I would never do that. I'm like, I didn't ask. Like, I'm just posting content for those who want it. So the $3 fee is basically just to weed out people that don't want to watch. If anyone wants to get on there and they can't afford the $3, like just send me a message and I'll send you all the videos, right? Like, I just want to put stuff out for people that want to learn and maybe they're not around someone that can mentor them, or they have like specific issues. A lot of the videos I'm going to be going through like specific issues with dogs. Like, you know, I got one I'm going to be working on that's like a dog with major foot sensitivity. Like you can't touch him or he fucking pops off, like working through that dog. So that's like probably the big promotional thing is my Patreon. That's pretty new to me. So I'm getting better and better at it each time. But again, like it's very cheap.
And for the people listening, it is not an easy platform to use for on our side. So we have one. It's a fucking pain in the ass. It's easy if you're like a customer, but on our end, it is not easy.
Yeah,
it's not user
that's
friendly.
It, man. Just Ben Lepinski on everything, man.
I think I'm gonna have my guy Jordan look onto that because he's a decoy who he decoys for me. I've been teaching him stuff as we go, but I've said this on here a lot that I consider myself to be a really good decoy, and I suck at teaching decoys because I just do it. You just do this, you know what I mean? And Ted's way better at that than I am, but I can do all that stuff. I just can't translate it. You know, it's strange. So maybe I'll get him on there to get him to learn some stuff from somebody else too, which is nice. And doesn't hear me chirping in his ear. Ted, how about you? Where are you at?
Ted_Summers on the Instagrams. Torchlight Canine, letter K number 9. And Torchlight Pets, if you want to see pictures of cute pets. We had a dog, speaking of right now, is the worst case of learned helplessness I've seen in 15 to 17 years. Any leash pressure, the dog just fucking melts and screams for hours, like the sight of a leash. So we're gonna have some transformation videos. My trainers have gotten him up, fucking walking around, yielding leash pressure. He's fucking hopping around, acting all happy and stuff now. So of course, it's a pit bull. Yeah. Go figure. But that'll be on Torchlight Pets. HRD Police Canine for the HRD side. And then, of course, for the podcast, working_dog_radio is this one for the podcast. But yeah, and you're where still at Van Ness Canine?
Still Van Ness Canine on Instagram for police dog stuff. Ridgeside Canine, Ohio for the pets. Workingdogradio.com is the website. We've got merch and stuff on there. Check your look. We got some cool t-shirts. I keep saying this every episode. We got to come up. We got some new designs kind of floating around in our heads. We just got to get them out, get them tested out, and try them. What do I have? I'm going to the Mountain States canine competition and seminar teaching up there in May, 3rd week of May in Colorado at Fort Carson. That should be fun. Other than that, that's it. Police dogs, man, and pet dogs every day, all day, every day. Yes. Yep. So, Ben, thanks for getting back with us, man. I appreciate you. Again, I don't know what that electronics, man, that stuff got all screwed up last time. Yeah. So I appreciate it. Ted, Ben, we'll see you. You guys have a great day. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Get better.